On September 3, 2025, in Beijing's Tiananmen Square, the Chinese Communist Party showcased a new unmanned force, featuring drones in the air, unmanned boats on the water, and unmanned submersibles underwater. State media described it as something out of a science fiction novel, Trinity-linked system, an AI-driven new battlefield. At first glance, it might look impressive, but upon closer inspection, it's clear that this is not a future military force, but more of a tech cosplay team. Some drones barely fly, some boats have no real impact, and others are practically invisible. These are new technologies, but they lack substance. The military display does not indicate that China is ready for war. Instead, it shows they have yet to figure out how to fight one. Let's begin with the air units. Airborne Canaries, not far, not strong. The standard feature of the military parade was the two newly revealed stealth unmanned combat aircraft, which are larger than the JF-17 fighter and closer in size to the J-20, with a takeoff weight of about 10 tons. These aircraft can carry air-to-air and air-to-ground missiles, boasting long flight range and have significant airtime. They were labeled as unmanned air superiority fighters. The U.S. Air Force has AI-controlled F-16s that are similar in concept. In 2023, the U.S. Air Force conducted an air combat exercise with an AI-controlled, outdated F-16, and the AI won in close-range dogfights. The U.S. can retrofit old aircraft with AI and deploy them in battle, while China, with its numerous J-10s and J-11s, has not done the same. Upgrading existing aircraft to AI doesn't require extraordinary effort. It's a matter of integrating the right software and adjusting flight control algorithms. China's consistent emphasis on independent innovation should naturally include the ability to upgrade their current fleet of fighter jets. However, the truth is that China is not upgrading their existing fighters. They're building entirely new aircraft. This indicates that the People's Liberation Army's current fighter jets are not even suitable for AI upgrades. Their systems are too outdated for AI integration, or the airframes can't handle high G-forces necessary for autonomous maneuvering. Thus, China has built two new models specifically for AI. One is slightly larger than the J-10, and the other is slightly smaller. The configurations are nearly identical, and their mission roles are similar. Both aircraft are stealthy, single-engine, and designed for maneuverability. Therefore, the purpose of creating two different models appears redundant. Neither is intended for air combat versus ground attack or carrier-based versus land-based operations. These drones weren't designed to serve different purposes. They were simply projects fighting for a spot in the parade. This kind of thing is not uncommon in China's military-industrial system. Multiple state-owned enterprises race to develop similar equipment, each producing their own version, none willing to back down. The Ministry of Industry and Information Technology and the military's Equipment Procurement Department set a 6th-generation UAV target, and dozens of teams rushed to create models. The first team to finish their prototype gets to show it off. As the parade date drew closer and time became tight, instead of selecting the best, they simply paraded all of them, ensuring every team's face-saving moment and keeping their projects alive. The result are two aircraft, one large, one small, with unclear roles and overlapping functions. They spent double the resources to achieve half the result. In a system that refuses to eliminate inefficient designs and dares not dismantle established interests, political parades will always take priority over battlefield adaptation and technical integration. The most obvious evidence of this is the completely exposed circular engine nozzle. In terms of stealth design, this is an unbelievably amateurish flaw. It's like opening a massive radar reflection and infrared radiation backdoor on the plane's rear. This indicates that it's not a lack of understanding of stealth, but rather they hadn't had time to develop a more advanced stealth nozzle. This proves that what we saw on the parade ground was not a finalized product, but a preterm model, rushed into production to meet deadlines and present something to superiors. They couldn't even finish the stealth nozzle, yet it was forced into the parade. They knew full well that the AI system wasn't fully integrated, yet they claimed that it was already deployed. In a system where no one dares to mention real flaws and everyone is eager to grab achievements, the unmanned vehicle presented in the parade wasn't the most powerful, but the project team with the strongest connections. The PLA's artificial intelligence is not capable of performing air combat. It cannot even manage autonomous cruising. Despite promising unmanned formations, the J-20 still requires a co-pilot to control it. They created a two-seat version, which the state media explains as coordinated operation of unmanned formations, meaning the human-controlled lead aircraft controls the drone. However, this contradicts the definition of AI combat. True AI combat would involve humans issuing commands and the AI executing them autonomously. Instead, they're leaving a person in the cockpit to manually control another plane. That's remote-controlled squads, not AI combat. The reason for this is that the PLA's AI is ineffective. True AI combat requires autonomous target recognition, autonomous path planning, autonomous fire control and evasion, and high-tolerance combat systems. But so far, China has never demonstrated a true AI combat scenario. At most, they've shown drone formations flying around the field. Waterborne water rats, floatable but powerless. If the canary in the sky is a fragile air toy that can't take off, then the water rats on the surface are another kind of awkward reality. They're cheap, but they can't fight. The unmanned surface combat vessel featured in the parade was painted in a dark gray stealth coating, giving it a futuristic vibe. State media touted its capabilities: unmanned control, autonomous strikes, capable of laying mines and attacking, positioning it as a key component of the Navy's future combat system. It sounds like the vanguard of a ghost fleet, but the reality is it lacks even basic firepower. How big is this vessel? Official data hasn't been provided, but based on visual comparisons and model parameters, its displacement to be between 50 and 80 tons. This means it's slightly larger than a traditional gunboat, but much smaller than a frigate. Its main gun is a 30mm caliber, which is only enough to deal with a few assault boats or civilian ships. It wouldn't even be able to penetrate the hull of a light frigate. There's no vertical launch system on the hull, no missile mounting interfaces, and even the antenna layout for its remote control module is extremely basic. This indicates that the vessel's strike capabilities are nothing more than psychological assurances. Looking at the multifunction compartment at the rear, state media claimed it can lay mines and deploy underwater drones. However, no automatic loading or mine-laying systems were seen. The compartment cover is sealed, with no extendable arms or hoisting rails. The compartment is too small to fit 2-ton naval mines. At best, it can hold a buoy. This is not a weapons platform. It's a testing platform. In practice, its range, endurance, and communication capabilities are severely limited. These small-tonnage unmanned boats generally use diesel-electric hybrid power or battery propulsion systems. They can reach speeds of over 30 knots, but have a maximum range of just 100 to 200 kilometers. Their communication relies on ground or shipborne relays, so once they leave the coverage area, they become little more than drifting bottles. In real-world tasks, it's limited to operations like unmanned patrols between artificial islands in the South China Sea, reconnaissance of small islands near Taiwan, or pretending to lay mines, simulate attacks, or merely create an impression of presence. To be blunt, it's not a warship, it's an unmanned outpost meant to show presence. Now let's compare it to the U.S. military's Ghost Fleet. The U.S. Ghost Fleet Overlord project is a collection of medium and large unmanned surface vessels, including the Sea Hunter, a 90-ton vessel focused on anti-submarine warfare with strong autonomous navigation capabilities. The Nomad, a 300-ton vessel with missile testing capabilities. Ranger and Mariner, vessels weighing close to 600 tons, capable of real missile strikes using vertical launch systems. The key difference is these vessels can cross oceans and perform full combat missions. They're equipped with collision avoidance AI, anti-jamming data links, and multi-mission interfaces. They are never parade props. As for China's vessel, it has only one gun, limited range, and is more akin to an electric boat with stealth paint rather than a real combat platform. Underwater nearsighted ghosts, short range, limited duration, no major impact. From the canary in the sky to the water rat on the surface, now it's time to dive deep. In the 2025 parade, 2 long, dark-colored objects appeared. At first glance, they seemed like future killing machines, China's oversized unmanned submersibles, HSU-100 and AGX-002. The official narrative was bold: deep-sea reconnaissance, underwater mine-laying, intelligent breakthrough, and even a claim that they represent China's new underwater combat model. It sounded like underwater ghost teams, but what's the reality? When we checked the specifications, size, and structure, the truth was clear. These aren't killer whales, they're nearsighted. They're not ghost fighters, they're underwater steering sticks. The two unmanned submersibles are essentially oversized heavy torpedoes, about 18 meters long, with a diameter of 1.5 meters, an X-shaped tail, and pump jet propulsion. So what can they really do? Let's compare China's Seaghost submersibles, the U.S. Navy's real Orca program. First, the range. The U.S. Orca can travel 6,500 nautical miles, easily crossing oceans. On the other hand, China's SHU-100 can only cover 200 to 300 nautical miles, and once it passes the first island chain, it needs to turn back. Next, endurance. The Orca uses a diesel-electric hybrid, can automatically return and change batteries, and stay underwater for up to 6 months. China's two submersibles, however, last only a few days and require human supervision. As for payload, the Orca's mission bay is 10 meters long and can carry 8 tons of equipment, including mines, sonar, and electronic warfare gear. China's submersibles, on the other hand, don't even have a hatch, let alone external mounting points for mines. Functionality is where the Orca truly dominates. It can lay mines, perform anti-submarine warfare, jam electronics, and map the ocean floor. China's HSU-100 and AGX-002, however, haven't demonstrated a single real combat module to date. The U.S. is developing a deep-sea combat platform, while China's vessels are nothing more than parade drift bottles. Look at the comparison. China's two submersibles resembled engineering demo models. They haven't even shown basic mission payloads, and there's no vertical launch systems or modular interfaces. They may have undergone depth testing, but they've never participated in real-world mission drills. The effectiveness of submersibles relies on 3 factors: detection capabilities, range, and mission execution. The two Chinese submersibles, however, haven't shown any sonar system details, demonstrated payload abilities, or proven they can avoid obstacles or plan routes on their own. This means they can be deployed, but retrieving them is uncertain. To carry out missions, they would need constant supervision. In complex underwater environments, these submersibles would struggle to navigate or complete missions on their own. The U.S. invests in the Orca program because underwater areas are vital for future military operations, hard to detect and perfect for surprise strikes. The Orca series has completed live-fire tests and is part of the U.S. Navy's operations in the Western Pacific. In comparison, China is showcasing experimental unmanned submersibles in parades, but they haven't proven their abilities. These submersibles are not designed for combat, they're made for display. Their real purpose seems to be meeting budget and political goals, not military readiness. Stage props. Why does China keep pushing to produce, show off, and hype these expensive, weak, and short-lived systems? The answer is simple but telling. They aren't meant for war, they're meant for show. In China's military-industrial system, weapon development isn't about whether it works in real combat, but rather whether it meets the standards. Once the project goals are set, different units scramble to draft plans, design blueprints, and make prototypes. Whether or not they can fight doesn't matter. The key is whether they can create PowerPoint presentations and get publicity photos. Just like students who build project models instead of writing thesis papers, they aren't armament, they're just test pieces for evaluation. These projects are actually cash machines for the Red Capital Circle, military-industrial groups, research institutions, and listed companies in the supply chain inflate related stocks before the parade, using state media to stir up nationalistic sentiments among retail investors. Then on parade day, when the nation is pumped up, they quietly cash out. The stock market on the day of the 2025 parade was a textbook example. The military sector surged in the morning, but by the afternoon it crashed as billions of dollars left, with retail investors hyping up the military, while institutional investors cashed out. These unmanned systems aren't designed for battle, they're cash-out fireworks for the elites. They grab attention, but quickly fade. Another fundamental issue is that these systems aren't products of planned development, they're products of internal power struggles. Often, several projects are initiated for the same type of equipment. If one withdraws, their budget, title, position, and political achievements would be jeopardized. Every team wants to appear to survive, even if the engines aren't finished or the radar isn't calibrated. They'll push the project to the parade vehicle to secure their spot. Lastly, there's the reality of financial pressure. The military budget is tightening, but the number of projects keeps growing. No one dares to cut them. Cutting a project means accountability, and no one wants that. So they create something visible to fill the space, even if it can't be used. When the budget is secured, no one asks if it can fly, shoot, or find its way home. In this system, winning or losing doesn't matter. What matters most is not losing face on the stage.